Hey guys, today we are going to look on the Java database connectivity, which is JDBC. Java API to connect and execute the query of the database, which is the actual definition and which is something that I don't like. So we'll, look on to what is actually realistic. So it's nothing more than a method, like it's a API. Okay, of course it's an API so that you can connect with the database. So let's just have a documentation like we had in the previous video. So it is available in the description below. One of my professors. I'll cover almost everything that you need regarding JDBC. Before that, we'll have to set a few things up. If you look onto this hierarchy of JDBC, you can see that the Java application is connected to the JDBC API. And further, we have a JDBC driver which actually connects the Java application to our database. So presently, in a normal Java platform, if you have the JDK installed, you won't have the JDBC driver as well as the database. So we have to set these things up. When you set up the database, you already get the JDBC driver itself, so we don't actually have to do this separately. So just the first thing that we have to do is to set up a database. So there are different databases. The most popular one is obviously MySql, which is what we are going to use in this video lecture. So MySql is it's a open source relational database management system. It's more of server based and it's a heavy software. If you don't want MySql, you can use something called as SQLite, which is a lighter version of SQL. If you check out the differences between SQLite and SQL, SQLite, like a lighter version, like there is PUBG and PUBG Lite, right? Similar to the easier one. So SQLite just focuses on the database management, doesn't care much on the server side. But I prefer you guys use MySQL because MySQL is what you're gonna have to use if you proceed on the backend development side. If you are going to be a developer, trust me, you'll have to work on database a lot. Obviously MySQL would be there. As of now, almost every developer we have in the field would be using MySQL server. So let's go for the bigger one, the bigger guy. That's obviously MySQL. So you'll have to set it up first. So for Windows and Linux, it is two different procedures for setting MySQL up. I already installed MySQL, but you will need to install that first. I checked out a few YouTube videos and I found an Jdbc video which explains really well about how to set up MySQL. So instead of me explaining the whole thing, when they did it much better than I did, it's better if you guys go there and check it out. I'll put a link in the description below. So you'll have to install MySQL for this tutorial. Go there, follow the procedure, install it for Windows. So that's for Windows. If you need it for Linux, you can Google it or YouTube it. You'll get a video on how to set it up at Linux. But if you're working with Linux, there are a lot of differences. There are a lot of changes. So I'll make a separate video for Linux users because the procedure that I'm gonna be following on Windows is very different. You'll have to get used to the terminal if you're using Linux. A lot of commands are there. So I'm going to be focusing on Windows users now. But if you have a platform like Intellij and the Linux users, if you face any issues, you can just Google it. If you can solve that part out, then you can follow along with this video. And if you're using Windows and if you're not using Intellij, that is, you're using a platform like Eclipse or NetBeans, you will have to do a few other things because Intellij makes things more easy. There would be a little more steps. You can just Google it. If you face any issues, you can just Google it. I'm gonna be following Intellij now. If you have any queries, just post it down in the comment section below. Or if you are watching this video, then there is a good possibility that you might actually know me. So you can connect with me. I'll help you out. I'll reach out to you. So any doubts, I'll be happy to clear. So whenever you create a database, so once you have set up that video, you can get back to this video. So I'll tell you everything that you have to do once you set up MySQL. If you're in Windows, you can follow along this video. If you're in Linux, you will have to follow a little more things. You can just Google it out, find out what you're missing, and you can follow along with this video. Right, so I hope you have done that, and let's get back to what we are doing. And if you want to use Intellij, it's really easy and it's really simple to use. what you have to do is Google Intellij. You'll have to download the software. Once you download the software, just select a new project. You'll get a window to make a new project. Select a new project. You're gonna start everything from scratch, okay? And you have to install the JDK, of course. So you can select the SDK out here. So you need to browse to your JDK folder and select your JDK. Then next, and let's create a program name called as Jdbc 1. Okay, so I already created a, okay, my caps lock is on. Let's Jdbc 1. I created a program called as Jdbc, so it's my second time doing this. Right, I'm gonna open this in this window. So once you get a window like this, if you are using Intellij, I'm just describing this for Intellij users. Who are using other platform, you can just skip this part. Go to src, right click, new, and select a Java class. And you give a name to the Java class. I'm gonna give the same name. It's, let's say, Jdbc. So we have a Jdbc class. Right, so you can browse through all your files by using this window, and all your program files would be in the src folder. So that's all you need to know for now. Let's get on with the actual stuff, okay, what we are actually going to be dealing with now. So I hope you have set up the database and you have everything. Once you have everything set up, let's get started with Jdbc. So I'm just gonna cover the mere basics of this. All the documentation will be available in the description, because it's a very big software and I'm not going to tell you much of the theory. We'll look on to the implementation because there is a lot of theory, trust me. So there are basically 5 steps that we need to use while connecting with a database, alright. So these 5 steps are: register the driver class, create the connection object, create a statement object, execute the query, and close the connection object. I understand that you guys have no clue about what I'm saying right now, unless you are good with this, or you are a nerd, or you are just watching this video so that you can judge me. So I'm talking to the other people. So the 5 steps, among these 5 steps, you can just relate it to something else, okay? I'll tell you a secret code that you can use so that you can actually remember it whenever you need. So this thing is very similar to a conversation. For example, you broke up with your girlfriend or a boyfriend and you need to fix things up, like you actually was mean to the other person. So if you are gonna do that, you'll follow 5 steps, which is exactly the same 5 steps you are going to follow here. So first we need to register a driver class, which is what we mean by, we have to find a means to communicate with a person. Like you need to get a mobile phone or some other software so that you can connect with a person. Let's say we take the mobile phone. So taking the mobile phone, finding a device so that you can connect with the other person is called as registering the driver class. Second one is to create the connection object. That means you actually dial in the number and contact that person. That is what is called as creating the connection object. And once you contact that person, you need to have an idea of what you're going to tell her, how to apologize, how to say you are so, so stupid while you are talking to the person when they actually broke up. So you have to create a statement in your mind. So that is creating the statement object, and execute the queries. Say what you have to say. So that's the plan in action. Now once you execute the query, you have to close the object, or probably she or he is gonna hang up on you, and you can regret later. So these are the basic 5 steps. You can add one more step here after executing the query, the processing objects, because whenever she says something, we'll have to process all those information, right? That might probably be a heartbreak. So probably there are 6 steps. When I browsed about it, you can actually have 6 steps. Okay, 5 steps is also fine. So these are the 5 steps. You can follow my code so that you will remember it. So let's get on with the practical stuff. Let's get cooking, all right? So for registering the driver class, I'll have to tell you one thing. You need to use this method called as class.forename, okay? But if you are gonna be using IntelliJ IDEA, you don't have to do that. You can just directly like attach it to IntelliJ without using that statement. And we'll have to use an import statement for the whole procedure, which is import java.sql. There are a lot of other packages, but we are going to use star for now, so that it will cover almost everything, right? And obviously we need a main function. So once we have that set up, I'll tell you how to set up the driver in Intellij. So if you're in any other software other than Intellij, then you can use this method, class.forename Oracle Jdbc driver, Oracle driver. This might be a little different in your case. If you don't know the path or something, then I'll tell you where you can find it, okay? So if you're in Intellij, then what you have to do is file, go to project structure, and go to modules. So we have the source path and dependencies. Go to dependencies, and there's an add button which is used to add a dependency. Press that add button, and I'm gonna be using jar or directories, which is actually our file, I mean the driver. So go to that and go to your SQL file, which is in program 86. You can have it in program files, but you have to go to program 86 for this. Go to program files 86 and find your MySqL file, open it up. You'll have a file called as connector j8.0. So open that up and select that and press OK. So if you are following any other platform other than Intellij, like NetBeans or Eclipse or whatever other platform, you can connect to this file, then your driver would actually be set up, okay? And if you're using Intellij, this is the best way you can do it. So I'm gonna press OK. So it's actually set up. Now we need to create a database in our SQL, MySQL, alright? So we actually need a database. So once you get MySQL installed, you'll have two things. One is MySQL shell, which is actually a command line. This is not something which we are going to be using now. We'll use something else which is called as the SQL workbench. Open this up. So you will actually have something like this set up. That means while you are installing it, you will have a database setup. You will have a server, so you can select that server. You actually might have given a password while you are installing MySQL. You can type in that password. I'm going to type in mine. And now I got my database. So while you open this, you will see something like this. There is two tabs called as administration and schema. So schema refers to all the schemas, that is databases that we have. Administration refers to the management of these servers. For now we are going to look on the schema. Now we need to make a new database. For that you can go and click this button, this stacked up round circular cylindrical thingy button. Yeah, that's so you can give a new schema name. I say what last time I used friends, now I can use Avengers. I already made one of those, so I'm gonna use okay. So now getting anything, okay. Heroes, I'm gonna say, oh right, so I create a database named, I'm gonna apply it. So we have a create schema heroes, click apply. So yeah, that's done. So click finish. Okay, now we have our heroes schema out here. You can open it from this pane, and there is a button, there is something called as tables, and right click it, click create table. So you have a table name here. I'm gonna say Marvel. Yeah, that's the table name. You can't click apply because you don't have any columns. If you click apply and finish, you can't actually do that because you don't have any columns. So cancel it, press this arrow key, this button, so you will get something like this, and type in your column name. So I'm gonna say we need a primary key, right? So for a primary key I'll use rank. So I use something called as a rank, which is a primary key and not null. Primary key and not null is checked, so this cannot be null, and this is a primary key. Next I'm gonna give name. Okay, so it's varchar, I'm gonna say 20. So I'm gonna check in not null, create a new column, which is what can I say, rating. That should be decided by rank. Let's say knowledge, knowledge. So I'm gonna give it as an integer. Let's say not null, and I'm gonna give knowledge and superpowers. So I'm gonna give it as a varchar. Oh, so I'm gonna say 40. Right, so we have 4 columns, that's what we need, and click apply. So we'll have a statement to create all the columns. Just create table this and rank, name, knowledge, superpowers. Have primary key as rank, click apply and click finish. So we have our database setup, we have our schema setup. So everything is fine so far. Now you can click the drop down menu and you'll have Marvel, right? So click that drop down menu in Marvel, or you can actually right click it and select this button, select rows limit 1000. Now we can add some data into our database. So let's say a rank 1 for I'm gonna give it for Iron Man, Tony, and knowledge is good, this guy's 100, superpowers is Tony is like science, right? Tech, maybe tech. Rank 2 I'm gonna give it for strange, and I'm gonna give knowledges. He's also really good, so maybe I'll give this is like, no, I'm gonna have to give both of them 100 because I love both of these guys. He's magic. And I'm gonna say you are expecting me to give Captain America, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna give Spider-Man. Spidey. Okay, Peter. So I'm gonna give knowledge is 95. Science 4. Okay, let's give it for Rogers. Knowledge, I'm sorry about this, but 70. Science is a super soldier, right? Okay, so we have 4 of it. I think that should do it, and I'm gonna click apply. Alright, so we have an insert into statement, insert into heroes Marvel rank. Okay, so we got all those things set up, and click apply and click finish. Now we have database set up, we inputted some data into it. So that's pretty much everything that we need for now in this database. Now let's connect our database to our Intellij platform. Alright, for that we need a driver. We actually included a driver. Before that, we need to do one more thing. If you are working on Intellij, I'll tell you an additional plugin that you can actually use, which will make your work very easy. That is called as DB Navigator. If you are using Intellij, you won't actually see this tab in your window because I installed it separately. It's a different plugin. So if you want this, what you have to do is go to File, go to Settings, go to Plugins, and type in Database Navigator. Okay. Okay, so yeah, right. So this is Database Navigator. I already installed it. If you haven't installed it, you can go ahead and install it. And once installed it, they'll ask you to restart the Intellij. So once you restart it, you will get this pane over here. So once you have that set up, you can click on it, go to settings, press this plus button and click MySql. Once you have that set up, you will have a name. Okay, let it be connection, and you can enter your username and password. Right, so what you set up, actually while you are setting your MySql, you can give the same thing. All right, so it is root for me and password is yeah. Right, I'm gonna click apply and then OK. So if it is connected to the database, then you will get a message like this. If you are not connected to the database, you will get a red color message, which is not right. So you'll have to check on with it and figure out which the errors are. You can go to Stack Overflow if you're facing any difficulties. They'll give you a solution. So it is connected to the database. We are good to go. We have very less probability of getting errors, even though this is a place where you can get a lot of errors. Everything set up. Now let's get started with it, shall we? Right, now we import this. So let's follow all these steps. First, we need a driver, but we already connected with the driver. If you're using other platform, you need to use the statement called as class.forename, but here we don't have to use that. So we'll go to the second step, which is create a connection. For that, what you need to do is create a connection object. Connection equals driver manager dot get connection. So I'll tell you three things before this. Okay, so driver manager is what a software that manages our driver. So when we create the connection, we need to get a method called as get connection from the driver manager and input our host name, our server name, and the username and the password. So these are the parameters this function is expecting. You will have to repeat the same procedure whenever you are working on Jdbc. So let's set this up. Okay, we need three parameters. Let's give them as strings. String. So we need a host name. If you are wondering what the host name is, okay, right. Right, this is the host name. So in your system, this might be a little different. When you go to your SQL server, you can see a port number. Like when you open your database, you will actually be able to see a port number like this, right? If you go back and okay, so I'm gonna close this. So you can see this connection that we created, right? So it has a port number. So this is the number that we need. Okay. All right. Heroes, tables, Marvel. Right. So that is the port number. Whichever port number that you see in your computer, that is what we need. You need to give the same statement. If you're using MySQL, you can type in Jdbc :MySQL / localhost and the port number that you see in your computer. After that, your database name. So here my database name is heroes. So starting to get alchemist. So we have heroes there. Now I'm gonna give username and password. So equals. So my username is root. Give your password. So you can't type in the same thing that I do. You have to change it according to what you did in your system. So we have 3 parameters set up, and we can give these parameters into our driver manager.getConnection method. So host, and you name, and you pass. Okay, so we have, okay, so the thing is, this can actually throw an exception, so you have to wrap it around a try catch block. So I'm gonna give a try catch block. So this is an SQL exception. I'm gonna say system dot I'm gonna say e.get message. Yeah, okay, that should do. So we have a try catch block. Now we can proceed with the rest. Now we have already created a connection, so we have our driver setup, we have created a connection. Next thing is we need to create a statement, get an idea of what you're going to do. So there are different kinds of ways in which we can create a statement. 3 functions are there. One is a prepare statement, one is create statement, and one is callable statement. So we'll look onto all these 3. Callable statement is actually the combination of create statement and prepared statement. So if you get create statement and prepared statement, you will know what the other one is. Same functionality. So we'll primarily look onto create statement and prepared statement. So we need to create a statement now. So we're gonna create a statement equals, we need to use this method con.create statement. That's how we have to do it, right? So all these statements that we use, like, if you're calling your girlfriend or a boyfriend, the procedure that you have to follow is like, I'm sorry, I can't do this, and like, I was really bad at what you did, like okay, I can't do that. So like, you'll have to make up a statement which is cheesy and emotional. But in case of Java, the statement that you have to make is, it's like SQL query. We are dealing with databases, not a girlfriend, so we need an SQL query for this. So let's say string SQL. This is our statement. Okay, I'm gonna give a basic SQL statement. You need to have some prerequisites on SQL. So select star from, so our database name is no, our table name, select star from table name. So our table name is Marvel, right? So select star from Marvel, right? So it's all small letters. You have to make sure that all the letters are correct. Like if it is in capital letter, it won't work. So you'll have to give the exact letters. Select star from Marvel. That should be enough for now. Now we need to execute this query. For that, what you have to do is, okay, so I'll explain this. Okay, sequence okay, now we have that set up, right? So this variable, we created a connection and made a statement and stored it in this variable, and we created a string which actually has our statement. So we use that statement in this function of this string. That is, statement has a method called as execute query, and in that method we gave this string or the statement as our parameter that we actually have to use to deal with the database. So the return type of this function is a result set of the object type result set. So result set actually lets us go through almost all records which satisfy this condition. So all the records that satisfy this condition, here it selects all the records from our database. It selects rank, name and knowledge and superpowers of all the records 1, 2, 3 and 4, and it is available in this variable. So we can access all these records by using this variable, by using a loop. Oh my god. Right, so let's use a while loop. You create a while loop, and you can use this variable rs so that you can access every row of the table. So you can use a function called as next so that you can iterate through all the rows. So we're gonna give rs.next, right, and we're going to give a printout statement for each of our rows. Okay, system dot, and if you're thinking about this in the university point of view, what the kind of questions that you're going to get is might be a combination of both JDBC and AWT. If you watched my previous AWT video, you might have a basic understanding of what AWT is. So they might actually ask you in university questions, they might actually ask you to make an application with login credentials. So a guy has to, when the application is opened, a guy has to enter the username and password, and we need to go to a database whose details will be given in the question, go to the database and check if the credentials are correct. So those kind of applications would be there in your university examinations. It's a combination of a little AWT and JDBC. It's not going to be that hard either in the side of AWT or JDBC. So if you watch both of my videos, I believe you can get through it with ease. So yeah, go check out that video. So we need one more function here, which is called as which is get name or set name. So I'm gonna use rs get. I'm gonna use get string for the name. I'm gonna use first column index. We have some error over here. Yeah, okay, we're gonna need one more of that. Right, that should do it. So what we actually did was we typed in the string name. After that, we are going to get the string from the first column. So column index, it iterates through rows. It takes the first row and go to the first column and take the content out there, combine it with the string name, which is why we use the concatenation operator, and print it out there. Now we can do the same for all other columns and for all other rows by iterating through it. Now we have a column index. Name is for rank 2, so this has to be for rank 2, and rank 1 is not get string, it is get int, and this has to be rank, and this has to be name. This should be knowledge, and this column index is 3, and we have one more of it, which is superpower. So we got powers, right? Oops. And that's of column index 4. So we got all 4 of the printout statement, So now we have gone through creating a statement, and we execute the query, process the data, and we have to close the connection. That can be done by using connection object. You have to make sure that you can close the connection object. If you are dealing with some bigger database which has got some important credentials, then if you don't close the connection, it is a way in which you can actually infiltrate your database. Somebody can actually steal your data. Let's see if it works. Okay, yeah, that's everything we need. Yes, it did work. So we can see the output out here. So first rank, that's for Tony, knowledge 100, superpower stack. So everything is printed according to our desire. So rank, name, knowledge, and superpowers, that should do it. So that's how we work on select statement. There are a lot of other statements. Let's play along, play around with the database a little more. We'll work on update and delete statements. So let's go for an update statement next. I'm going to take this out. Okay, this is right. You need to know the syntax of all the SQL queries to do that. Update table name, which is Marvel. Set function, set is there, which is a keyword. Set, yeah. Let's say what? Let's increase your knowledge of Captain America. Knowledge equals let's give an 80, where name equals. So when you are using strings to refer to something in the database, you'll have to use single quotes. So I'm gonna give Steve. If you're using integers, it's not an issue. Yeah, that should do it. So when we are using this kind of a query like update or delete, we don't have to use this function execute query. Instead we use execute update. So yeah, the reason we get this error is because the return type of execute update is not a result set, because it's not select star. Instead we get an integer. So let's change it to an integer, and let's see if it actually works by using an if clause. So if x is greater than 0, then we can say that it's actually worked, or SQL query was actually we actually changed our database by using an SQL query. So I'm gonna say success. Else I'm gonna say failed. Oops, did I select it? I'm still getting used to this keyboard, that's why clumsy fingers. The keyboard that I used to work was much bigger than this, so now it's smaller, so I'll have to recalibrate my senses that the distance between keys are not as it was supposed to be earlier. Right, this is how it's supposed to be. Let's see if it works. Okay, we have to get Steve and 80 knowledge after we do this. Yes, we have success out here. Let's check our database if it actually worked. So you go to your database. If you have to refresh it so as to get the updates. For that you can use this lightning button, click on it, and yes, we have 80 now. So yes, we did update Steve Rogers. Go back, let's try out a delete statement. Let's try and delete Steve Rogers. So we have to use delete from database, where let's say you don't necessarily have to refer to name or rank or anything like that. You can refer to uh, any column, but you have to make sure that it's unique. If it is not unique, all of those columns will have, if we say delete from table where knowledge equals 100, both of them will be deleted. So if I say delete knowledge where delete from table name, which is Marvel, where knowledge is 80, then only Steve Rogers will be deleted. We say 95, then Peter will be deleted. So like that you have to write the SQL queries where knowledge so that should delete Steve Rogers. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, and voila, Steve Rogers is gone. He's not anymore. So that's how we do delete statement. There are other way of doing things, right? I told you that it's not just statement. We have a not just create statement. We have prepared statement and callable statement. Now let's try working on prepared statement and see what's the difference between create statement and prepared statement. So let's change this to prepared statement. Okay, now we have prepared statement. Okay, the syntax of this is a little different when compared to our create statement. So we need the SQL query before our statement. So we'll define it here. No, we don't need this. The SQL query has to be passed down to the prepared statement before we actually execute it. So it's not where we have to give the SQL query, but I have to give it here. Okay, so we got that done. Right, I told you that the difference between prepare statement and create statement is that prepare statement actually uses parameters, whereas create statement doesn't use parameters. So let's try inputting a row into a table by using some parameters. Okay, let's say we'll change our query. So as you insert it, you can follow this syntax. Insert into table name as a Marvel. Now here comes the play of parameters. So for inputting parameters, you can use this question marks. We have 4 parameters, so we are using 4 question marks. So in the place of these question marks, we can actually input variables. So that's why we call it, we have to use parameters in prepared statement. So these are the parameters. We can pass the parameters as either variables or directly the values. So let's pass values. Okay, so for that we need to use another function, that is stmt dot set in, set string, and other ones. So for now let's use set in and set string. So the parameter index, for the first one we are going to input our rank. So that is, so parameter index 1, and the value of rank is, we have already 3 ranks. Let's give a 5th one. Steve Rogers is still the 4th, even though it's deleted, we'll get back to him later. So let's give, no, okay, rank 5. Now let's give all the other columns. Let's say parameter index 2, and this is not an integer, so you have to change it to string, and that is a name. Let's say Black Widow, right? Natasha. And our knowledge, maybe she'll need something like, I'm gonna give 90, and for 4 superpowers, she's very agile, so I'm gonna give agility. Right, why is it okay? So we have that. Let's input one more. Let's get our Steve Rogers back in the game. Okay, let's try and insert this. Let's see if it works. Then I'll teach you another method to insert into the database. That's pretty easy. If you are using Intellij, that's an easier method. Let's see if it works. Then we'll go to the other one. Okay. Yeah, it was a success, so we have to get it. Yeah, we have Natasha now. If you're using Intellij, you don't really have to go to the database to check if it actually worked. You can do it within Intellij itself. That's why we use this database navigator plugin. So to do that, go to database browser. So you'll get something here, okay? Project, structure, and there is something called as database browser. Here we can actually see our database. So go to schemas, find our schema, which is heroes. Let's say find your table, Marvel, click edit data. We don't have to give any filter, so just click no filter. So you will get your table right here. So you can edit your table from here itself instead of going to your SQL database. You can add records. Let's add Steve Rogers. I don't want any haters, and he's also pretty intelligent, to be honest, but not as good as Strange or Tony. And he's also a science champion. Right, that's how we do it. So we committed that to our database, and it should reflect on our actual database. Yes, we have Steve here. So that's pretty much the basics of Jdbc. It's very hard to set up, to be honest, if you're doing it for the first time, and you might face a lot of difficulties. You might get a lot of errors. When I was actually working on my first database project in Java, it took me a lot of time. I was working in parallel with 2 of my other friends, and they also had a lot of issues while completing with that. But you keep on pushing, like go to Stack Overflow, solve your errors, then you'll get to a point that you can actually get through any errors, no matter how hard it is. Just keep on digging. You can get more information, more documentation from obviously Oracle. That's the best place to get documentation, and there is Java Point and a lot of other helping websites where you can get documentation from. And if you're not using IntelliJ idea, you might have faced some issues in between. You can post down in the comment section below and I'll help you clear them. And if you're using Linux, I'll make a separate video. I'll try to make it as soon as possible. If you have any issues, you can reach out to me, post down in the comment section. I'll be there to help you and I'll be happy to help you. So you can check out that Edureka video, hit a thumbs up there, and if you like what I just did and if you want me to produce more contents, yeah, the usual stuff, like, share, subscribe and punch that notification bell. So until we meet again in another video, it's me, your Praveen.